I'd like to share with you our experience in Kiribati in our efforts to try and improve service delivery, and especially to our rural communities. How many of you know Kiribati? Do you know where it is? It's in the Pacific Ocean. Because I find that also some of our Pacific colleagues don't know much about Kiribati. And our excuse is that we are the best kept secret of the Pacific. We are in the Central Pacific Ocean. We straddle the equator, and we cover 5 million square kilometers of the Central Pacific Ocean. There are 33 islands, and 32 atolls and 1 raised coral reef island. Our atolls, they're like the Tuvalu and the Marshall Islands, narrow strips of land that are very flat and very low. The average height is about 2 meters above sea level. So the points that the Prime Minister of Tuvalu raised this morning is a major issue for us in terms of the impact of climate change and sea level rise on our communities. This is also an important factor in the service delivery because, as I will share later, it affects the ability of government, both the central and local governments, to improve the service to the communities. As you can imagine, if you build a road and with just one blow of a big wave, that road is gone, then you can imagine the impact on the service delivery. So this is a major factor because of the geography of our countries. We are scattered across that 5 million square kilometers of water. The distance between the east and the west part of our country is 4,000 kilometers. So it's comparable to the Australia's the west to east coast distance. So we're a very large country. We are a large ocean island. As the Prime Minister of the Cook Islands stressed at the forum in the Cook Islands a few years ago, we are all large ocean states, or large land states, like Papua New Guinea, but we are all large states. And so with this context, we can understand the challenges that our government, central government, local governments face in delivering the service to meet the needs of the people. Our land area is only about 811 square kilometers, depends on the tides, but that's roughly the land space we have. So very, very small. Our EZ is about 3 million square kilometers, so we do have that potential. The local economy is mainly fisheries, based on fisheries, agriculture, but the agricultural product that we export is copra, very limited. Because we are an atoll, it's like our farming is very, very hard. It's like trying to grow things on the beach, grow plants on the beach. That's how our country is like. We don't have soil as you have in some of the countries in the Pacific. We have 23 island councils or local governments established under the Local Government Act of 1984. The Act provides the functions, set out the functions of the local government, how they are elected, and everything that they need to function as a local government. The elected officials are elected along the same line as members of parliament. So the islands, because I think there's an advantage one of the advantages of having lots of different islands is that the area of local government is limited to one island. So there's no conflict between the certain councils of the area. But we do have some islands with a number of councils located on it. One of them is the capital, South Tarawa. South Tarawa, we have 2 urban councils, Beso Town Council. We have the mayor here and the chief executive officer, and the Teinainano Urban Council, TUC. They're 2 of our biggest urban councils. The other urban council is Christmas. You've heard of Christmas Island in the Pacific Ocean, not the one in the Indian Ocean. And to get there, you have to go through Fiji. So that's the challenge in distance. The budget, council budgets are approved by the minister responsible for local government. This time, the Minister of Internal Affairs. The councils prepare their budgets, but the minister has the final say. So if the minister feels the rates are too high, then the minister can change that, or even introduce a rate. So you get the picture. Bylaws are also approved by the minister, and the councils also rely on government for their development projects. Some of them are now going out and forming partnerships with other donor communities, but the main partner is government, central government. So I'm just providing you this context so you understand the main gist of my presentation this afternoon in improving local service delivery in Kiribati. The infrastructure, there's, as you know, the urban and the rural. We've had the Papua New Guinea experience. There's some differences between our rural and urban communities, and I don't need to go into that because we all share the same characteristics. Rapid urbanization, we also experience that. 54% of our population live in the urban area. Urban area in our context is South Tarawa and Christmas. But South Tarawa itself hosts about 46%. So it's a huge challenge for the urban councils to try and deliver service, meet the demands of their population, their communities. The infrastructure is quite basic, especially in the rural communities. We know most of our rural communities do not share the same level of infrastructure and service, standard of service that their urban counterparts enjoy. So we also have that in Kiribati. In terms of infrastructure, of course, being the capital, South Tarawa has the most the infrastructure development level in the country. But if you go out to the outer islands, we call them the outer islands, the rural areas, you'll find very basic infrastructure. So roads, they're not sealed on the outer islands. The runways, they're very basic. Some of them, they're not sealed either, but they're compacted compared to the urban area. We have health centers. We don't have hospitals on the outer islands, and these health centers are headed by medical assistants, so no doctors on the outer islands. Only one health center for one island, and a few small clinics in some parts of the islands. The school, some of the villages share one school. We have only one junior secondary school, so year 7 to 10, and no senior secondary school on all the islands except a few. So service delivery, how do we improve service delivery. And even isolated and remote communities, where you have lots of different islands, where the demand for the level of education, health, and economic opportunities are great. Connectivity is very, very challenging. First, all the outer islands have airport except for three islands. But even with the airport, you need to have aircraft. And we only have 2 at the moment, one perfectly operational one that serves the whole country. So that's part of the service delivery. How do we improve this, and whose responsibility is this? What are the roles of local governments? So I guess in Kiribati, a lot of services are being delivered directly from the central government and by the central government. Like, if we're talking about health, the central government is responsible for the development of health infrastructure and the maintenance and the provision of medical staff and medicine. But these offices are based or located on all the islands, but they do not report, or they're not accountable to the local governments. They report directly to their respective ministries based in the capital. So that's one challenge. How do we improve that? Because if the councils want the delivery of certain health or education service to some of their remote communities, they can't do that. They have to go to government and seek help. And this is one of the areas where we need to find a model and a mechanism that will allow the councils to provide that service. But then there's also a challenge there. Decentralization cannot happen without the empowerment of the councils and the communities. So we are now trying to build the capacity of our island councils. With the help of PLGF, funding provided by New Zealand, Australia, European Union, and other partners, and in partnership with our local government association, KILGA, we are working towards the development of a local government training program. And my ministry is working with the Ministry of Labour and Human Resource Development through its Institute of Technology, the Kiribati Institute of Technology. There is a program that Australia is funding through the KIT in the development of TVET. And we've proposed that the local government training program be made part of that. We cannot sustain, because the funding that we receive will help us develop that program, but how do we sustain that? So we want it to be part and parcel of the curriculum of this institute. This was initiated through the GPS, the Good Practices scheme with Australia, but we didn't manage to complete that because of the changes in the priorities of our partner. But we're taking the initiative and moving forward with the good foundation that Australia has helped us with. But that's one of the initiatives that we're taking, that our government is taking, because we need to build the capacity of the staff of local governments, the staff of our island councils. What we have done is we have upgraded the level of chief executive officer or clerks to the island councils. They're now middle level management level of the public service. And these people are seconded from central government. That is also an area where we're trying to work on with our island councils to try and build the capacity so they'll be able to afford to have their own employees and officials. There was a lot of concerns about too much control from the central government. And I think at this stage, in the state of our development in Kiribati, it is necessary at this point in time. Because before our island councils can have the capacity to do things themselves, central government has the primary responsibility to deliver the basic services to the people. But we are working towards the empowerment of our island councils to try and get them to be able to sustain. You probably heard or read the report from the ADB, Pacific Regional Infrastructure Facility, about what they call the build, neglect, and rebuild syndrome in our region, where donors come in and build infrastructure for us. And then a few years later, we need to rebuild them because we don't maintain them. Now the question is, who should maintain these buildings? What's the role of local government in this regard? So there needs to be lots of capacity building. And we are working with our partners on this. The initiative with the Kiribati Institute of Technology is something that, it's a model that we are trialing. We hope it works, and with the support of our partners, PLGF and the sponsors, we are optimistic we'll be able to have a sustainable capacity building program in Kiribati. And we're looking also to Australia with the world-class local government training program. Perhaps we can partner with them in that regard. They may be able to help us. But capacity building is the key, and empowerment is the key to ensuring the improvement of service delivery. But you can't have that if you don't have the basic infrastructure. And you'll be able to have that basic infrastructure if you'll be able to get funding for it. We have to duplicate everything on all the islands. So maintaining the infrastructure is critical, but we want to mobilize the communities to be able to look after them. As I said at the plenary session, we need to get rid of the dependency syndrome in our countries. We need to get the communities to be mobilized, to mobilize the resources, very wealthy, and to get them to help themselves. That's also a part of our initiative to try and improve service delivery. The services that they can do themselves or sustain themselves, even the private sector. We're also looking at the private sector, and especially in terms of local economic development. So I have lots of time. I was told I have 20 minutes, but I only prepared for 5 minutes. But I think this is the challenge that the small island states face. I think the Prime Minister of Tuvalu have already made that very clear. But the climate change and the impact of climate change is pushing us back and destroying the basic infrastructure that we have built. So we have to try and rebuild that. Even before we can get the service out to everybody, we need to have the basic infrastructure in place. So we need to be able to protect them. So the local governments have very critical role. First, to mobilize their communities. Because they're closer to the communities, they know them, they talk their language, they know their system, they know how to mobilize them. So we rely on them to do that. And we're providing, the government is providing local governments with the tools, the capacities, and the resources that they may need to do that. At the moment, there's a lot of funding. Well, central government, maybe local governments don't agree, but there's a lot of funding that central government is giving to our local governments. Now, what the central government wants from the local government is for them to deliver those services at an expected level and to account for those, to report. But this is something that the local government don't have enough. It's never going to be enough, and central government is never going to be able to provide enough resources. But that's just something to help local governments, and local governments will will have to be innovative in utilizing the limited resources they receive. Together with their communities, if they mobilize them, they'll be able to get those resources to improve their service. So thank you very much, and I welcome any questions later on. Thank you.